Story 1. Scientists found the first ever living animal, a parasite that doesn't need oxygen to survive. This was in February. Our discovery confirms that adaptation to an anaerobic environment is not unique to single-celled eukaryotes, but has also evolved in a multicellular, parasitic animal. Hence, Hennegia salmonicola provides an opportunity for understanding the evolutionary transition from an aerobic to an exclusive anaerobic metabolism. Story 2. Egypt and Ethiopia are close to going to war due to Ethiopia building a dam on the Nile River. Ethiopia is diverting some water and limiting water flow to Egypt. The Ethiopian government is refusing to honor previous agreements made that detail the rate at which they will fill the lake behind their dam, and they refuse to negotiate any further with the Egyptians. Story 3. The fast-tracking of a silent bill through the Senate to dismantle encryption in the name of protecting children from exploitation on the internet. While everyone is trying to stay home, stay healthy, and worry about the next weeks and months of their lives, they are pushing this one through during all the COVID-19 distraction. It even comes with the specious naming of the Eliminating Abusive and Rampant Neglect of Interactive Technologies Act. They are trying to get this railroaded through quickly before anyone has a chance to notice, and we cannot roll it back. The main issue with this proposed bill is that it actually does nothing whatsoever to protect or prevent child exploitation on the internet, and dismantling encryption across a broad range of products, while threatening companies with significant fees and fines for non-compliance, is fear-mongering. Story 4. CRISPR was just successfully injected into a live patient to treat genetically caused blindness. Story 5. Pacific Gas and Electric Company was responsible for the California fires and pleaded guilty to the manslaughter of 84 people. Only 2 days ago, and it has already slid off the front page. Story 6. The nth room sex crime case in Korea. Please read about it if you can. It's absolutely horrifying. Edit. Wow, I did not expect this many responses. It's the first time I've ever received so many replies. I see that some of you want to know more details, so I will leave a detailed summary of what it's all about. But please do not read if you can't handle graphic content. It's very violent and sexual content, and I don't want to trigger anyone. Read with a strong heart. Story 7. One of the main routes into downtown Seattle, the West Seattle Bridge, was closed yesterday because cracks in support beams made it structurally unsound. It will take several months to fix and will not reopen until it is done. This would normally destroy the entire Seattle commute, but it happened right now, so it is barely even a blip on the local news. Story 8. Astronomer here. We might have a bright naked-eye comet next month in the Northern Hemisphere, our first since 1997. Comet C 2019 Atlas Y4 is brightening really quickly, and by May might be one of the brightest things in the night sky. I mean, comets are notoriously tricky to predict in brightness, as it might just break apart as it gets closer to the sun. But it's really exciting to think about, albeit no one has heard about it because of the pandemic, though granted, doesn't a pandemic need a bright comet? Edit. You might be able to get it in binoculars right now, or at least have fun trying. Here is a star chart for it. And yes, the last bright Northern Hemisphere great comet was Hale-Bopp, which was up for about a year to the naked eye. If you were a Southern Hemisphere resident in 2006, however, you probably remember Comet McNaught. Edit 2. Because many are asking, that bright star in the evening sky is actually Venus. It's around its peak brightness and height right now, and you should go take a look if your social distancing allows it. Might as well take a break from Netflix and look at a whole another planet. Edit 3. No, there is no chance of the comet hitting us or affecting life on Earth beyond potentially getting bright. Story 9. I hope the locusts plaguing East Africa, the Middle East, and the Indian subcontinent can be controlled. Some swarms are as large as New York City and are consuming harvests, threatening widespread famine. Without the COVID-19 pandemic, I think we would have mobilized to control this population the way we did for Zika-carrying mosquitoes in the Americas. An NPR article describes how in 2018, a series of cyclones from the Indian Ocean hit a remote area of the Arabian Peninsula, known as the Empty Quarter. This produced extraordinary rain, providing locusts with ideal breeding conditions. Because a second cyclone occurred during their breeding cycle, instead of the population dying out in the desert, it exploded. In favorable conditions, they can multiply their population by 400 times every 6 months, leading to mass migration. For clarity, a swarm was identified as 3 times the size of New York City. Story 10. I'd like to say the Earn IT Act, but things like this don't tend to make the news. Story 11. Probably the oil price war, actually. Saudi Arabia is trying to force the Russians into cutting production since they will not cooperate with the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, and United States shale might pay the price as we need high cost for this entire industry to function. Story 12. ISIS bombs Sikh place of worship in Afghanistan. Thank you for the awards. For everyone mentioning my previous edit, I am Sikh myself, so it touches my heart that so many people care about this. I'm not trying to be insensitive. Story 13. The United States government is trying to pass an anti-child pornography law that actually just gives them the ability to search through all of our messages. Story 14. Nth room case in Korea. Telegram pornography sexual slavery ring with 74 victims, including underage girls. The Telegram groups have an estimated 10,000 to 30,000 subscribers. The nth room perpetrators are accused of luring victims, including minors, into sending sexually explicit photos and videos. In some cases, this escalated to using blackmail to force victims into increasingly violent acts, including sexual assault. Absolutely disgusting. I'm surprised that this news didn't get bigger internationally. Edit. Reporters at Cookman Ilbo observed about 25,000 users across 30 such chat rooms. Story 15. In Australia, effectively a war crime our elite forces committed in Afghanistan. Here is the story from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which features the video and also a detailed account of the encounter. There's a video of a squad of our Special Air Service confronting a man in a field. He is compliant and unarmed. The Special Air Service member asks, "Want me to drop this person?" a couple of times and is told to radio the superior. He does, but you can't hear the response. He then shoots the man. There have been stories breaking in the past of other very questionable or disturbing activity by the Special Air Service in Afghanistan, but, as far as I know, that never had video accompanying it. The video of this encounter confirms there wasn't some misunderstanding or panic, just a cold-blooded killing. If I may wear my conspiracy hat for a moment, it's terribly convenient for the government and armed forces that this news broke in the middle of this crisis. A lot of people I know either didn't see this break or only read the headline and assumed it was some kind of misunderstanding. Edit. Added link for those interested. Story 16. That all the millions of dollars we raised for the people affected by the bushfires in Australia have maybe vanished. I've spoken to a few people whose houses burned down, and they haven't seen a cent. Where did the money raised go, I wonder? Story 17. The fact that scientists discovered a new dinosaur the size of a hummingbird and also found a new planet beyond Pluto in our solar system. Thank you to all the kind people who pointed out that the new planet they found is actually an exoplanet. Story 18. Maybe not the biggest, but ones that could have gotten way more traction. Linda Fairstein sues Netflix, claiming they defamed her character with "When They See Us." Greenland and Antarctica are melting 6 times faster than they were in the 1990s. China pulls credentials from journalists at 3 major United States publications. Australia is recovering somewhat from the disastrous fire season, but there's still the fear the next one could be just as bad or worse. Reply if you want more stories. Edit. Okay, you wanted more, here's some more. Police on Greece's border with Turkey used tear gas and water cannons to repel hundreds of migrants trying to get into the country. Tom Brady leaves the Patriots for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There was an attempted mass shooting and assault in Garden Grove, California. Teachers' union strike concerning failed negotiations. Blind man fails citizenship test after being denied Braille. Edit 2. As Sing and Play 65 pointed out, the original student protest link was about the teachers' union striking over failed negotiations. I actually mixed it up with this story, which is about students at Kennedy Catholic High School who planned a protest about 2 gay teachers pressured to resign. Story 19. The Department of Justice just asked for emergency powers to indefinitely detain people without trial. That's pretty concerning to me. If you're interested in the details, here is a link to an article. Story 20. Country leaders are trying to secure their position as heads of state for unlimited duration. Example, Russia and Hungary. Edit. Okay, many people have pointed out that Ukraine is not one of the countries involved. I mixed up Ukraine and Hungary, so that happened. Story 21. I know this is COVID-19 related, but the pubs are shut here in Ireland. The pubs are shut in Ireland. You know when while Coyote runs off a cliff and is hanging in midair with feet still spinning desperately? That's what this feels like. Story 22. Evidence is building that a major extraterrestrial impact occurred 12,800 years ago, likely causing global destruction. The impact likely caused the extinction of many large mammal species in North America, including multiple species of elephants and mastodons, giant sloths, giant bears, giant beavers, and camels. At this date, there are many sites around the globe that include nanodiamonds, magnetic spherules, and platinum group metals associated with such impacts. There is also evidence of major burning of forests and other plant material, known as the black mat layer, and tons of evidence for massive flooding in North America, suggesting floodwaters thousands of feet deep caused dramatic erosional effects in northeastern portions of the United States. Story 23. Major earthquakes happened in the capital of Croatia, Zagreb, last Sunday. Earthquakes are still occurring, and a large part of the city is damaged. Many hospitals were also damaged. Babies were born in the snow, and people are left homeless. Those who are still in their homes are afraid of what will happen next. Story 24. The full phone call between Kanye West and Taylor Swift from 2016 leaked, and it's been the only thing my Twitter has been talking about. COVID, COVID, COVID. Kanye West is over COVID. Story 25. Nike, Adidas, and Apple products are being produced by Uyghurs in concentration camps. Forced labor in concentration camps. Story 26. How your liberties and freedoms are being destroyed in the United States by both parties getting ready to pass the Patriot Act 2.0, called the Eliminating Abusive and Rampant Neglect of Interactive Technologies Act. While you're distracted by all this, you'd think two parties that hate each other working together would be newsworthy, especially if it was about to destroy any remaining privacy you had left. But I guess not. Continue panicking. Story 27. My daughter lost her Peppa Pig doll. It's a pretty localized emergency, but apparently it takes precedence over everything else. I'm locked in the bathroom now self-isolating, hoping this will all be over soon. Story 28. Someone has made a 1-to-1 meter scale map of the Earth in Minecraft. You can teleport to the block coordinate of where you live. For me, at least, this is something I've waited for, probably for almost a decade. Story 29. The second person in history has been cured of human immunodeficiency virus. Not treated, cured, as in they no longer have it. This is a huge step in making HIV and acquired immunodeficiency syndrome a curable disease. It was a death sentence. If you had it, you could only count your days. After Keith Haring, a very successful artist who died from AIDS, donated a large portion of his net worth to HIV and AIDS research and started the Keith Haring Foundation that focuses on AIDS research and education, it became something people could live with and was no longer an inevitable death. Now, 2 people have had their HIV cured. This is the start of something big. If HIV and AIDS can soon be cured as easily as other sexually transmitted infections, then Keith Haring, Freddie Mercury, and everyone else who have died from AIDS complications will be able to rest easy. Story 30. Tom Brady now plays for Tampa Bay. Tony Ferguson is finally going to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. That last one is actually the biggest disappointment as far as I'm concerned. These two have never fought. Khabib is 28-0. Tony hasn't lost a fight in 8 years. They've been scheduled to fight each other 4 other times. Some crazy events have happened and the fight was called off. So they finally schedule it for a 5th time and a global pandemic breaks out and is now in danger of canceling their fight a 5th time. It's huge news. Dana says the fight is still on, but if things get really bad in the United States over the next few weeks, nobody will care anyway. Khabib versus Tony is quickly turning into a more accursed version of Floyd Mayweather not fighting Manny Pacquiao for too long.